In this video, I'm going to discuss collective nouns, or nouns that represent groups of items. So the basic rule with collective nouns is that we treat them as singular in form unless, for some reason, the members of the group are referred to individually. So in our first example here, we have the couple was in agreement about the divorce settlement. If we just mark it up like normal, we mark up in agreement about the divorce settlement two prepositional phrases. Who or what is the sentence about? It's about the couple, and the couple was. We have a singular verb here, and that is because the couple is being referred to as one unit. They are in agreement. And so because we know they're in agreement and are one unit, we refer to it as a singular verb. In the second example, we have a little different situation. We have a prepositional phrase again at the end. We have the same subject in this sentence, couple. However, in this sentence, the couple is not acting as one unit because, in fact, they are arguing about something. So they are not a unit. And because they are not a unit, we need to treat them as two separate entities and give them a plural verb form. We have a few rules with collective nouns, and the first one is very similar to the basic rule, and that is that expressions of amount are considered singular when we think of them as a single unit. If we think of the amounts as individual units within that larger collective unit, then we refer to them in the plural with the plural verb. The first example, a gallon of milk is a lot to drink. We have a prepositional phrase, but our subject is gallon. And we don't usually think of the gallon as the individual drops of liquid within it. Instead, we think of it as a carton or a chunk of milk. And so since we think of it as a singular unit, we have a singular verb. In the second example, I like cookies, but a dozen are a lot to eat. We think of cookies, we can count each of the cookies within that dozen. So when we're referring to a dozen here, we've got a compound sentence. I like cookies, and then a dozen are a lot. This subject here is in reference to these cookies, and we know that cookies can be counted, and so we want to use a plural verb form in that example. The second rule refers to nouns that are plural in form. The examples here, civics, mathematics, measles. You can probably think of some others on your own. Mumps, gymnastics would be another one. And even though they have an S on the end, they take a singular form of the verb to go with them. So in the first sentence, civics is one type of academic study, and it was. So civic subject, singular verb to go along with that. The second one is a very similar example. Statistics is. It's one thing, and so we need a singular verb. A final rule regarding collective nouns refers to nouns where you have a linking verb in the middle and you have a different number on one side of the verb than you have on the other. So if the subject and the predicate nominative don't match, then the verb agrees with the subject. So if we look at our first example here, poor diet and a lack of exercise, we have two things that result in one effect. So two causes, one effect, and a linking verb in the middle. But because the causes are the subject and those are plural, we use a plural form of that verb. In the second example, I've simply reversed the subject and the predicate noun. And so with this one, we have one source, or a singular subject, and then we have two predicate nouns on the other side, a compound predicate noun. But the rule tells us that when we have this linking verb, we need to agree with the subject and not with the predicate noun. Those are the basic rules of collective nouns, so we're going to look at some examples next. This first example is one that I see in the newspaper quite often during hockey season, not this specific sentence, but references to the Minnesota hockey team, the Minnesota Wild. And in this sentence, the Minnesota Wild blank in a slump until changing coaches, we look at the team as an individual unit. This is that basic rule, that if it's referred to as one unit, then we get a singular noun. So the Wild is one team that was in a slump. Singular subject, singular verb form. The second example refers to those collective nouns that have an S on the end. So physics is my subject. We think of it as singular, or we treat it as singular. So physics has been Ronald's most difficult subject this year. The third and fourth examples refer to that third rule where you have a predicate noun and a subject disagreeing in number. So if we look at this first example, we have senators, which is plural, and 4 here in fact. And the linking verb have become, or have helping verb and linking verb here. And focus is the predicate noun. We have a singular focus, singular predicate noun, plural subject. The rule says that the verb has to agree with the subject, which in this case is plural, and so we have a plural verb form. The second sentence, or the last sentence here of this set, I've simply reversed the subject and the predicate noun. So now I have the focus being the subject of the sentence. It's one focus, and that focus has been the senators, plural. So the plural predicate noun, but because the subject is singular, I have to have a singular verb. That's it for collective nouns, and that's the last video for this unit on usage.